So here's the problem. You have many devices that you want to be able to communicate with each other easily, or you communicate from one device to another, whether you're on the same network or not. And you want to do so in a secure way where you can be confident that people aren't able to get into your network and wreak absolute havoc. Now, I've been looking for this flow for a long time, specifically for my local development process. My MacBook Pro is great, but the battery isn't. I would prefer to run less things directly on this and more things on my computer in my office. Now, I have a Mac Mini back there that handles my dev sites just fine. So I've been running most everything off of the Mac Mini lately and then connecting OpenCode through the Mac Mini. So OpenCode is actually running and processing on the Mac Mini. And I've been connecting to my code via Z Remote, and that's been working really super well. Now, you can always SSH and do Vim if that's your style too, but I'm going to show you over the course of this video how we can get that process all going where you can have a secure context HTTPS local dev environment that's not even running on your laptop, but you can access it anywhere in the entire world from any network securely without having to worry about opening ports or massive configuration. And I'm even going to show you my Z setup as well as my open code setup so that way you can see exactly how I'm running my dev processing on my computer, on my Mac Mini, on my laptop, my phone, or wherever it rips. So how is this all possible? Well, it's all possible through something called Tailscale, but they're not paying me to make this video. I've been using this, and this is the promised land for me in terms of this setup. It's so nice and easy, and the best part is you don't have to pay anything for it. Now, I am paying for a VPN add-on to Tailscale, but you don't have to. Nothing that I'm going to show you in this video is going to be blocked behind a paywall. What you'll want to do right now is download and get Tailscale running on every device you want to connect it on. I have Tailscale running on my laptop. I have it running on my Mac Mini. I have it running on my phone. I have it running on my Synology NAS, and they're all connected in a nice personal network. So while you get that download and installed on at least 2 devices, because you'll need that for this video, or you can just follow along and see what's possible, I'm going to tell you a little bit about something we're cooking up, which is Mad CSS. MadCSS.com outlines the 2026 World CSS Battle Championship happening on Syntax. So if that sounds interesting to you, smash subscribe. We've been doing CSS battles on Syntax for a long time now, and they are just so entertaining. So we figured, why not bring on some of the industry's best and then 2 other jokers named Wes and Scott on here to compete. We got Adam Argyle, Josh Komu, we got Bree Hall, we got Amy Dutton, we got Shonda Pearson, we got Jason Langsdorf and Chris Coyer. The whole lineup is unbelievable. Adam Wathan, Mr. Tailwind himself, Cassidy Williams. The lineup's out of control. We have a bracket tournament where it's single loss elimination. So if that sounds like fun to you, smash subscribe on the YouTube and you'll be getting the Mad CSS videos in your feed later this month. Okay, so Tailscale. I'm assuming that you have now gotten Tailscale running up if you're interested in doing that. While you do that, let me explain to you also a little bit about what Tailscale is. Now, I'm no expert on VPNs and systems of that nature, so anybody else who wants to rip me for this, feel free to do so in the comments. Tailscale, what it does is it sets up a private network using WireGuard, which is the same thing that many VPNs use, right? And that network allows your devices to speak to each other on stable IP addresses. So typically, if I have SSH available on my Mac Mini, I could SSH into it from my desktop using the IP. And if I haven't assigned a static IP to that, it might change the IP all the time. Now, I have all my stuff has static IP, so I just do the static IP, but the Tailscale IP is going to be 100 dot something dot whatever, and that is going to be the Tailscale IP, meaning that you could SSH to that Tailscale IP and have it just work. Now, the reason why this is different is because let's say I'm on a different network. Let's say I'm on a work trip and I'm in a hotel room. I can then SSH into that Tailscale IP without exposing the Mac Mini to the wider internet. And the only reason it will work is because I have Tailscale running on all the devices, okay? So because those devices are all connected, it no longer matters which network you're on because your devices are in a private network in your Tailscale called the Tailnet, I believe it's called. And then you could even get domain names if you want using Magic DNS if that's a feature, which we'll talk about in this video, okay? So that's how it works. Now, there's a lot more there in terms of key exchange, ACL policy, encryption, device-to-device traffic, connection types, and all that stuff. Not important for this video. I think you can do your own research in depth if you want to learn more in depth on how Tailscale works. We're talking about the practical setup here. Okay, so this is it. I have all my Tailscale stuff set up. Now, what we're going to do in this video now is I'm going to SSH into my Mac Mini. I'm going to create a new Vite project with SvelteKit on that, and I'm going to get it up and running on Vite. I'm then going to connect to it via Zed so we can see and make some changes. You can use Vim if you'd like over SSH. You can use anything you want. Use SSH in Vim or use this feature in Zed. And I'm very sure VS Code has a similar feature. Please drop that below if you do. I've just been on Zed, so this is how I've been doing it, okay? After we are able to do that and make modifications to our web app, I want to be able to get that app loading just fine on my MacBook Pro, even though it's running on that machine. And I want to do so with HTTPS and a domain. This domain is going to be a generated one, so not a custom one. It's going to be done through Tailscale serve. Okay, and then after we get that running, I'll show you my OpenCode setup and how I run OpenCode on the Mac Mini and connect to it from here, my phone, or anywhere. Okay, now I will show you Zed, but again, like I said, you could use SSH to do it via Vim if you'd like. If you don't know about Zed, it's a great editor. I have a video on my personal channel about it. Zed.dev is the place to learn about it. It is a really fast, nice editor. Okay, so I have Tailscale running, and you can tell it's running on each of my devices because it's right up top here. And I can SSH into it by just using the IP address from the Tailscale network. Now, the IP address, I'm going to blur a bunch of these, and for no reason other than just paranoia. I don't think there's anything wrong with giving you or showing you these IPs, but for sheer paranoia, I'm just going to blur them, okay? To get the actual IP address, what you do is you head down to Network Devices in your Tailscale, and then you select My Devices, and then you just look at these. Now, I want the Mac Mini. All I do is click it. When you click it, it puts the IP address in your keychain. Your keychain? No, your clipboard, not your keychain. Let's head to my terminal here, and I'm going to SSH my user at the IP address that I just copied. Now, the user, in this case, since it's Mac to Mac, this is the Mac user on the main account, okay? And it's just my name. So, and the password it's going to prompt you to would be the same thing that you were to enter on the Mac when you were to log in. So, I'm going to enter my password, hit enter. It gives me an issue about my ZSHRC. Yeah, that happens. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do sites. We're going to do projects. Change directory to where I keep my projects. From here, I'm going to run pnpx, and we're going to do sv create, and then we're going to call this Tailscale app. Okay. If you're wondering what this is, SV create is how you create a new SvelteKit project. If you want to have a React app, a Vite app, I highly encourage you to just start your normal dev process here or whatever, because again, this is just to get a dev app going. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to say SvelteKit demo, because it's a nice little demo app. I'm going to say sure, TypeScript, and then just hit enter. We're going to say pnpm, and then once this is all done, I'm going to change directories into the Tailscale app, and it already did our dependencies, so I don't have to run pnpm install or anything. But we're not going to run the dev process just yet. Reason being is I want to modify this. I want to change the default port for reasons I'll make clear in a minute, but I think it's a good time to bring in our text editor. If you want to use Vim, now would be the perfect time to just type Vim and start editing your files, or NeoVim, or whatever the heck you use. But for me and other people who like to use a text editor, I'm going to pop open Zed Okay, and this feature is really neat inside of Zed. When you click Open Project, you can come down here and click Open Remote Folder, or you can find that also under File, Open Remote, or you can, if you are, civilized, you can do Control Command O and pop open the menu. Now, by default, there will be nothing here. So you'll want to click Connect to SSH Server, and you'll say SSH, and then whatever that exact same SSH stuff that was working for you worked in the prior, like when you SSH'd into the Mac Mini or wherever you're hosting this stuff, or maybe you're just on your actual local machine here. You'll SSH here, enter. It's going to ask you for your password, and then it's going to allow you to navigate to any of your projects. So to actually get to any of my projects here, I'm going to click Open Folder, and it has this nice little folder. It's going to ask me for my password once more, and then I'm going to head into Sites. I'm going to head into Projects, and then I'm going to head into Tailscale app, okay? So the Tailscale app that you're seeing inside of Zed right now is running over SSH, and it is connected to my Mac Mini, as you can see here. And this, because it's using that Tailscale IP address, is going to allow me to connect to this code from anywhere in the world. So if that's all you want, you got it, right? You can see the files are right here. If I were to edit them, you'd see them happening over here too. So that part is really great. This is how I code. Let me turn off restricted mode here, actually. Trust and continue. Okay, so this is how I code, especially things that are running on here. I'm entering and I'm working directly in here. The experience is not degraded at all. I mean, maybe if your network connection is bad, I haven't really had a terrible experience there, but so far so good. Now, the thing I want to do here is in vite-config.ts. Now, if you're a Next.js person or whatever, you'll want to find where you can customize the port. The only reason I do this is because it makes sense to me to have really solidified ports where one app is always running on a specific port rather than the default, because the way the default works is if the default's taken, it goes to the next one, and then the next one, the next one, and then it becomes really confusing which port you're trying to connect to. But if each of your projects have a port that is self-identifying in that sort of way, then you'll always know what you're connecting to with that port, because we will be using these ports in our serve as well. They become important, or significant identifiers, I should say. So let's go ahead. In our vite config, I'm going to add a server, and then the properties in here that we need right now is just going to be port, and we can say 5. Well, let's do leet speak for tail, which I believe is 7411, right? Tail. Is that right? I think it's right. Either way, we're going to do 7411. Okay? Because that makes sense to me. Cool. So that means that if we run in our SSH over here, if we run pnpm dev, it should say that this app is running over at localhost 7411. So now we have the ability to modify code in our remote app. That's great. But how do we get that to load in the browser? How do we make this so this all works very seamlessly? Now, you could do so with just by vite host, I believe, and just access it through the Tailscale IP. But I want to actually do this with Tailscale serve, because that way we get it HTTPS, and I like that. So we're going to be doing that via Tailscale CLI, which is something that you need to install separately from Tailscale. Now, I installed mine via Homebrew, so you can install it via just brew. I believe it's just called Tailscale. Otherwise, you'll just head to their docs, which is docs reference Tailscale CLI. You can just search for CLI in here, and it will get you here, and you can install that on your computer any way that makes sense to you. And likewise, once you have that installed, to confirm that you have that installed, fire up a new session, and I'm going to have to SSH again. And it doesn't matter where you are in this new session, but just fire up a new SSH in here, and you can run tailscale -- version, and then it should output something here. My version is 192.3, which is what we're using at the time of recording this video. If you don't see this, you don't have Tailscale installed on your machine. I created a new session, I SSH'd into it, I ran Tailscale version. I need to see this before you can continue. Otherwise, head over to their documentation and figure it out. Now, there's another setting and thing that you'll need to have set up before we proceed. Now, Tailscale has some interesting stuff with magic DNS and HTTPS that we need configured. To do that, we want to head to our Tailscale up top here in our settings. We want to go to Settings, and then we want to go into Accounts, and then Admin Console. Now, Admin Console is, I'm going to show you this blurred out right now, includes a whole bunch of IPs and all of the devices I have connected. Again, I don't think there's anything that, I don't think there's anything that could come from this. I just want to, be better safe than sorry. Now, where you're going to want to go is this DNS tab right here. This one right here. If you click on that and scroll all the way to the bottom, you will see Magic DNS. You'll want to enable Magic DNS, and then HTTP certificates. You'll want to enable HTTPS certificates. I'm very confident that if you don't have these two things enabled and you run the Tailscale serve stuff, I'm pretty sure it's going to yell at you and say to enable these things, but this is where you go to do so. Okay, so all that said, I think we're ready to start serving our site. We have the site running at localhost 7411, so let's go ahead and actually get this thing served. Now, we run Tailscale serve, and then we're going to run --BG. Now, BG just means that this is going to run in the background. You don't have to use BG if you want to be able to just start and stop this from your term. I like to just run in the background. Typically, I'm just keeping the same dev processes running all the time, but I'm a little bit lazy there. And then you're going to want to do HTTPS, so --HTTPS, and then it's going to be equal to the port at which you would like to serve this on. I would like to serve this on the same port, which is 7411. It doesn't have to be the same port. It can be anything. This is the one that you will access it on when you go to access it from the MacBook Pro, which you see I'm on the MacBook Pro, but I'm SSH into the Mini. Okay. The last property here that you need to have is going to be the address of the process you want to be served. So http://localhost, this is my Vite dev server, is 7411. Okay. Now, if I did all of this correctly, and fingers crossed that I did, I'm going to hit enter here, and then it should give you the address at which your new site is available. Note the port. Now, when I visit this address, what we should see in this particular case is that the blocked request, this host is not allowed. To allow this host, add, and then it gives you what to add to server allowed hosts in Vite config. This is a Vite thing. If you're not using Vite, you might need to add a different setting here. My understanding is that if you were using Next.js, it would probably give you the correct error. I don't think I've ever really used Next.js for any amount of time, so I don't know. But for Vite sites, it tells you exactly what to do, which you gotta love that. So I'm going to head back to my Z here, which shows us our Vite config. Inside of server, we're going to want to add allowed hosts. Now, allowed hosts is going to look like an array, and that array is just going to be a bunch of strings. Now, it said to allow this as my host. To allow this host, add this to your allowed hosts. So again, it's telling you exactly what to do. No excuse. So we paste this in here and save it. Now, I could refresh this, and guess what? Check it out. Your new SvelteKit app. Now, not only is this the local dev server, it's also running HTTPS in a secure context. So if we want to see this working, we can add in just another quick H1 in here. Hello. Save this, and you'll be able to see just how instant this feels. If you were worried or concerned about this, not feeling like a local dev experience, you can rest assured that the moment I hit save, this thing is updating. Again, I'm on a great wired connection here. That might not always be the case, but for the most part, as you can see, the dev flow is working super, super well here. Now, you may have been thrown off by this broken image right here. I was actually pretty thrown off by this broken image myself, but visiting the image is actually broken. I'm not quite sure why. When I looked into the images folder, the image was broken entirely. I don't know if it's just a faulty image that came in when I ran SV create, or if there's something wrong with the SV that threw this in here in the demo. I honestly have not used this particular demo in a long time because I'm usually using a SvelteKit skeleton. Either way, maybe a little bug report there. So as you can see, we now have our dev process running here. here, we now have our application running here at a real URL that I can visit. And again, the moment I go off network, I'm headed to my daughter's dance class or something. I'm working out of the car while she's in class. I'm still able to access this stuff as if we were on the exact same network, all because of Tailscale. Okay, so that's Tailscale serve. That's Z remote. The last piece of this is going to be Open Code remote. Now, Open Code has their own thing going on. Now, I use Open Code as my primary way of integrating with AI. Now, actually, before we even do that, I will say that we checked this URL to make sure this was correct. If you want to stop, you just run Tailscale serve and then the off. You can also run Tailscale serve status, and it's going to show you everything that's being served from your computer. I'm going to build a little UI for myself for this because why not, right? Okay, so if I want to get Open Code running on here, I am actually going to change directories into the project folder. So projects Tailscale. I don't believe you have to, and it might actually complain because I think I already do have Open Code web running. Now there's Open Code serve, which you can run, or there is Open Code web. Now, if you have Open Code installed on your machine, you should be able to just run Open Code web. And what this is going to do is make this available as a available web interface locally in your app. Okay, this isn't going to do it though, because we also need to make this available on the Tailscale network and host it as well. So we're going to need to change the settings. We're going to do Open Code web, and then we're going to use a MDNS, which makes it discoverable on our local network. So MDNS, and then you can give it a port if you'd like, or it will just use the default port of, I believe, 4096. So when I hit enter here, it's going to give us the network access. It's going to give us a number of IPs, the local IP, the network access, and then the one that starts with 100, the 100 dot whatever is your Tailscale address. You can copy that from here. And again, this is all running on the Mac Mini to make that perfectly clear. And if I paste that in here, it opens up my Open Code instance. Now, I'm going to click the plus button to open a project. I'm going to search in my sites and projects and then find the Tailscale app right here and then click it. Now, what this is going to do is open up your Tailscale app in what seems like the normal Open Code GUI. The only thing is it's running in the browser, and Open Code itself, the processing is happening on the Mac Mini here. So if I have a session here, I want to go ahead and say, hey, make the background green because I'm lazy. Okay, and this is going to go off and it's going to do its thing. Now I haven't found the Open Code web, like, come on, Codex. I haven't found the Open Code web platform to be as good as the GUI or as good as the TUI. I do prefer a GUI to a TUI, but sometimes I find myself having to refresh on this and stuff like that. So there's that side of things. But either way, this is it right here. Now, did it just tell me to set the app background? You do it, man. GPT 5. Codex, whatever, is just so lazy. Why would it tell me to do it? You're the AI, you do it. Or did it? Oh, it did it. Okay, it was just telling me to adjust it. Either way, it did it. You can see. So if you wanted to get this work flow going in here, you could just say, make it blue, okay? And you could sit and behold as your AI agent does all the magical work for you. First try perfect without messing it up. Now, I will say the coolest thing about any of this is that at this point, what you can do, if you have Tailscale installed and turned on as your phone's VPN, what you can do now is you can head to your Safari, your browser, or whatever, without installing any additional apps. You can head to that same link, and I'm going to go do that right now, the exact same IP address. And let's see if I can do the TikToker thing here. If you can see this, you can see that this is the exact same Open Code session that I'm running off of the web version or whatever. I'm running it off of my phone now, meaning that if I want to be truly crazy, I could vibe code something running on the Mac Mini from my phone, from my computer. I could put down one, pick up the other, and it's all just going to magically work as long as every one of these devices is connected to Tailscale. I'm going to tell you, using this setup, I vibe coded a feature in a crappy personal software app from the pharmacy line at Target yesterday, and no, I am not proud of that. But I did it, and you know what? People are out here installing a bunch of terminal apps and stuff into their phones. Man, this was pretty dang smooth getting this set up. Okay, so that is my Tailscale setup. I have my editor connected via remote SSH. I'm able to get into my Mac Mini or my MacBook Pro or my NAS drive from SSH anywhere in the entire world as long as everything is connected to Tailscale, and I'm able to run OpenCode on the Mac Mini, therefore freeing up my MacBook Pro's processing to do things like what? Record this video, right? Many times I had stuff running on my computer that was causing my video to be choppy and slowing my video down. No longer, because my dev process just runs on the Mac Mini now. This setup is going to become increasingly important to me as I run and move more things over there, and I really am just continuing to do that. I have found this to be such a nice flow. Do you have any critiques or comments or anything that you would change about how I'm doing any of this? Let me know. Drop it in the comments below. The biggest concern about security here is one, potentially accidentally using funnel instead of serve and then opening up things to the wider internet that you might not have known about. Now that's a whole other thing. If you ran Tailscale serve, there's not a whole lot of concern there, but maybe you accidentally ran Tailscale funnel because you asked AI to do it and didn't know what it was doing, right? Something to consider there. The only other thing is that your Tailscale account itself becomes compromised because, let's face it, if somebody's able to log into your Tailscale account, they can install their Tailscale on their machine, they can log into your account, then they can access your entire network. Granted, if they know the passwords, or maybe if you have keys set up, maybe that all is just working seamlessly. So if they end up knowing the passwords, they could SSH or they could get into your network possibly. Not like a huge concern, but you don't want to just throw away a garbage username and password. Make your username and password on the secure. A way that you can lock that down a little bit is to have a setting where you have to approve new devices that are added to your Tailscale network. So that's something you'll probably want to do. I'm sure there's a whole host of things that I should be doing on this as well. If you're a Tailscale Pro and I left something off, or you want to clarify something I said, please drop it below. I'm happy to dive deeper. As always, this is Scott with Syntax. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.